This episode of Techno Buffalo is brought to you by Jack Threads. Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Buffalos, the show where you can ask me, John Rettinger, any question you've got from the wide world of technology. Don't know what phone to get, don't know what tablet to get, not sure if the new Microsoft Surface is up your alley. This is the show where you can ask. Up this week, we're going to talk rumors about a new iPhone called the iPhone Math. We're going to talk tablets, we're going to talk cell phones, and everything in between. This is Ask the Buffalo. Let's go and get started. So our first question comes from Jose Urias, who asks, John, what are your thoughts on the rumored iPhone Math? A good or bad thing for Apple and its customers? So China Times last week said, hey, Apple's gonna make a 4.8-inch iPhone. That sounds absolutely ludicrous. From Apple to go to 3.5 to 4.8 in 2 generations is not going to happen, as much as I might want it to happen. I love larger screen phones. Certainly the 4-inch screen on the iPhone 5 is on the smaller side of modern smartphones. But if you think Apple is going to go 4.8 and further their fragmentation after 1 generation, I think you'd be sorely mistaken. If we have the 5S or the 6, whatever Apple decides to call it, with a 4.8-inch screen, that's 3 different screen sizes to support. It ain't going to happen. Not to say a larger screen size iPhone might not happen in the future, but I would not hold your breath in what China Times is saying. So hopefully that helped answer your question. So next question comes from Hose. Hey John, I'm looking at the Samsung Ativ Smart PC and the Microsoft Surface. I like them both, but I can't decide which one I want. Which one would you go for? Well, assuming you're speaking about the Ativ, which has a full Intel chip in it, and not the Surface RT, you're speaking about the Surface Pro. We had a chance to play with the Ativ at CES. I came away really impressed. These demo units that are at trade shows have been manhandled by tons of people, have lots of applications going. They're not optimized like you or I would use a tablet. People are opening all kinds of crazy stuff and changing settings. And this Ativ Smart PC was humming along incredibly fast. Actually, it's one of the fastest Windows 8 experiences that I've seen. Now, I'm holding off on what I'm going to say about the Surface Pro until our full review comes out, but it's really hard to vote against the Ativ. It was really impressive and just worked absolutely well. So if you're looking at something that gets sort of a hybrid, it's going to be a good way to go. We saw a ton of awesome accessories with the two. We saw keyboard docks and all kinds of other fun covers for it. So if you want a tablet but still want to be able to do some power use on it, you want to be able to use Photoshop, you want to play some light gaming, looks like it's going to be a great way to go. This next question comes from Twitter. User @probably234 asks, @John4Lakers, do you think Sony can compete with companies such as Apple and Samsung in the mobile industry? So Sony used to have all their phones branded with their partner Ericsson. Those are gone. Now we just have dedicated Sony phones. So we've got the Xperia Z, the Xperia ZL that was announced at CES. I had a lot of time to spend speaking to the folks at Sony. I learned something very interesting. So first, I don't think Sony's released cutting edge phones, and there's phones that haven't made it to the market right away. I'm thinking about the Xperia Arc and some of the other devices. Now, when they were announced, they were certainly comparable with other phones on the market. So I asked what they thought about that, and they had something very interesting to say. They're releasing these phones with specs that are important right now, that are up to date. They're having a hard time getting them to US shores. I followed up with, well, why? Evidently, other phone manufacturers are paying carriers to keep their phones out of the stores and to keep their displays larger and bigger to make sure you don't see Sony or other manufacturers. Let's hypothetically call this company Samsung. Samsung, this hypothetical company I just made up, might go to the carriers, pay them a sum of money to make sure their phones have the biggest display, and to perhaps keep other competitors' phones from being sold. They could create incentives for the sales staff at the carrier store to make sure that those phones are being pushed. So despite Sony, for example, having some cutting edge phones, it's very hard to get them into market. There are huge layers of bureaucracy you've got to go through in order to get a phone from, conception to being able to be delivered to a carrier for testing and get it into stores. Despite the availability of buying phones unlocked, most people still get their phones subsidized through a carrier. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes other than just saying, hey Sony, how come you don't have your phones here in the US? It must be your fault. And to some extent, some of the blame does lie with Sony. They've been really slow on updates for their phones. Although we were also sort of told that the carriers may have something to do with holding off updates for some of the phones, but certainly the unlocked units, there's no excuse to not get those updates out. So that was sort of a long, convoluted answer. I do think devices like the Xperia Z can absolutely compete. I was really impressed with how it felt, and I'm hoping that we will see the sort of trend change and perhaps see those devices in the carrier stores in the near future. Hopefully that helped answer your question. Let me take a minute from answering questions to thank our friends and sponsors at JackThreads. JackThreads has quickly become the online shopping destination for dudes. Here's why. Everything on the site is up to 80% off, so you can save some money. Don't pay full price. They serve up killer contemporary skate and street apparel, accessories, and gadgets from brands like Converse, Penguin, and Busted Tees. Shopping is stupid simple and all styles are created so buyer's remorse just don't happen. And more as a viewer of this show. You can skip the membership waitlist and get instant access, so go to jackthreads.com/techno. Again, that's jackthreads.com/techno. And as a JackThreads member, if you refer a friend, you get a $10 shopping credit for each person you refer. So get all your goods, don't leave the house, and look sharp doing it. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Ask the Buffalo. Hope you enjoyed. Check out all of our stories and more at technobuffalo.com for the latest unboxing reviews of the latest consumer electronic devices. I'm John Rettinger. I'll see you next video.